Morning, guys. Happy Sunday. All right, a lot to get to. A few minutes later than I planned. Starting with the Ravens yesterday, really great news. Like, we win the game. We look great on defense, made some good plays. Obviously, there's plays that we want to, improve upon defensively, offensive line. I get it. But overall, you got to look at it from a positive standpoint because Cleveland really was still playing hard. They're bringing back the head coach next year, and I just you got to be happy. So the Zay Flowers injury is the one thing that was the negative. He's not going to play next week. Would be my gut. Probably not going to play for a couple weeks, unfortunately. But the one positive coming out of that will be they really will have no excuse but to run the football. That'll be the emphasis. Feel really good about them. Steelers lose, so all we need is the Chargers to win this afternoon, and we'll get Pittsburgh next week. And that game will most likely be Saturday, since both teams played yesterday. That would work out fairly easily for everybody. So that's what I'm rooting for. Break down the Ravens more during the week, especially once we find out exactly who they're playing. But yeah, let's go through all the games today. End this season on a high note. Was able to go 3-2 yesterday. Cincinnati game, they just didn't cover the spread at the end as Pittsburgh got the field goal. Cincinnati settled for field goals all game long. They pretty much dominated the game, but it was a typical AFC North end of the year battle where much different than a month ago in Pittsburgh, or excuse me, in Cincinnati when they scored a million points, both teams. So Cincinnati's alive. We'll find out if they get lucky enough to sneak in. If they do, they head to Buffalo. So that'll be interesting. All right, let's start with the first game on the board for me. Bucks and the Saints. Too many points, you would think. Bucks minus 14 and a half, except the Saints were so bad against the Raiders last week. Spencer Rattler, they scored one touchdown against the Raiders. It was like a trick play. Bucks rolled the Panthers. It seems like a ton of points. I don't know if I want to lay them, but Tampa's got to win that game. Tampa feels like, excuse me, they should obviously win. If you want to put them in a 10-point teaser, that might be pragmatic, but the Saints are going to play loose, I imagine. I don't know. It's a division game. I'd be careful about all the points, but Tampa wins. They get the NFC South. They can still get the 3 seed. All the matchups in the NFC are basically up in the air as you go 2 through 7. So Bucks could get the 3 seed. They could get the 4 seed. First of all, they just got to win, make sure they get into the playoffs. They win, or if the Falcons lose. So Bucks should win. I just don't know about the 14 and a half points. I would lean more towards the over 45 and a half. I just, in case the Saints get a couple lucky big plays. I don't know. The Bills-Patriots game's a strange game. Bills are favored by 3. It really feels like the Bills is the right play, but you might want to live bet it just in case New England jumps on them because Drake May is going to play, and he'll play and he'll try, and the Patriots might score. And then they'll go to Joe Milton, it looks like, who I don't have very much confidence in, as New England would love to lock up the number 1 pick. So as long as New England loses, they get the number 1 pick, thanks to the Giants' shenanigans last week winning. But yeah, Patriots win. Excuse me, Patriots lose, and then they get the number 1 seed. I feel like that's what they're going to try to do once they take Drake May out of the game. Patriots will really have trouble scoring. Bills will roll with Trubisky. Get that off my tongue. I don't know. He's pretty good. 3 points. I feel like Buffalo wants to win this game. They haven't really, they just want to have some momentum going in. I feel like the team's in a good mood. That they're not going to play their starters. I get it. But their backups on defense should be good enough to hold down the Patriots. The total's 34 and a half, which suggests what type of game it is. I probably would hold off on the Bills before the game, but if you're watching and there's an opportunity to live bet it, or the game's a little tighter at halftime, then maybe just take the Bills in the second half. That's my thoughts on that. The Bears, I don't know what the Bears' mindset is. You would think the Packers would just roll them. It's similar to the Tampa game against the Saints. It's really hard to take the Saints. Really hard to take the Bears. I get it, but 10 points is still a lot. It is a division game. The Bears are going to change their coach. They're going to have a new regime, a new everything, pretty much. I don't know. Packers are locked into the 7 seed unless Washington loses. So the Packers still want to win. LaFleur, the coach for the Packers, says he's playing the starters. I don't know exactly if that means for the whole game, but remember when what's his name, Malik Willis came in earlier in the year. think he went 2-0. So Packers backup quarterback. If he gets in there, he'll probably play well. Packers -10 feels like the right play. I just don't know if I want to do it with the division game at the end of the year, but feels like the right play. I can't talk about this Colts Jaguars game because the Colts have absolutely killed me this year. Sick of the Colts. Whatever I say will probably go the opposite way, so we'll just skip that game. The Panthers and the Falcons. Panthers getting 7.5. What's it, 7.5? I like the Panthers a lot today, which I don't know if that's a good sign or not because Panthers have been tough for me to get right this year. But it does feel like a good spot for Carolina. They're going to bring back their coach and quarterback. It's his first year. I think he'll come back. I would imagine so. It's only his first year. And then Bryce Young has been good enough that he'll most likely get the opportunity to at least compete for the starting job next year. I think Carolina is going to try to invest, get some skill players. They might not necessarily be as far off as some of the other teams, and that might show today. They got destroyed by Tampa, kind of had some bad luck, had to settle for some field goals. This game's in the Dome. Atlanta is really in big trouble, as a franchise. They're lacking direction. I guess they're going to roll with the Penix guy for the foreseeable future. He's shown flashes. I get it, but we'll see. It wasn't good enough to beat the Commanders last week, and now the Falcons are pretty much done. I don't know what the motivation level is. I just think the Panthers will cover that spread. Wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers pulled it off. Commanders should win this game. They're 7-point favorites against Dallas, and they're going to play all their starters. They'd much rather get the 6 seed than the 7 seed. So the 7 seed has to go to Philly. The 6 seed, and that's between Washington and Green Bay. The 6 seed gets to go to Tampa or Los Angeles, depending on how that plays out, which is an infinitely better situation for Washington. The way they beat Philly last time a few weeks ago, I don't think they want to see Philly again. That just seems like a really tough spot for them to beat them again. Although they do match up with them pretty well because they hung with them the first time. Their energy seems to feel like, based on the quotes from the coach, that they'd rather go get the 6 seed, plus have the momentum. Plus, Dallas beat them a few weeks ago in a weird game. Dallas seems to be finished. The way they played against Philadelphia was pretty embarrassing. If you had Dallas last week, it's just annoying because they covered against Tampa, won the game outright, and then laid a big egg there. I just imagine that Dallas is finished. So I think Washington rolls them. Washington either, like I said, they get the win, they go to Los Angeles or Tampa, depending on how that plays out. So Houston, Tennessee, it feels like Houston's the right play here. They're getting 2 points. I know they're going to go to their backups. Stroud and the starters are going to start. I just feel like the Texans, they really just can't afford to go into the playoffs just losing all these games in a row. This would be a 3-game losing streak, just an ugly display the past couple of weeks. Really just not competitive, embarrassed on national TV both times. Ever since the Tank Dell injury, it seems like the energy's gone for the Texans. But with all that being said, the Titans are having I don't know if it's a quarterback competition or what the hell they're doing, but it's Mason Rudolph and Will Levis are both going to play. I don't know if that's a positive. It can't be a positive. I just think the Texans are going to play hard. I like the Texans today. That's one of my bets. So I do like Houston. I like Philly a lot. They're -3 against the Giants. This to me feels like you're getting a lot of value because Tanner McKee is going to be the quarterback for the Eagles, not Kenny Pickett. And, Tanner McKee's not any good, and the Giants scored 45 points. I get that. But the Eagles should be like 6-point favorites. Giants scored all those points last week. It was more of an indictment of the Colts than I think the Giants. I think the Eagles actually will play well with their backups. Their defense is so good that I just don't see the Giants scoring a lot of points. I like the under for the Giants team total there. Those are the 1 o'clock games. The 4 o'clock games are the games that have a little bit more of the playoff implications here. So Dolphins are playing the Jets. Dolphins have to win. Snoop's the quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback for the Jets. For some reason, the Jets feel like they're going to win this game. I hate to say that because I want the Dolphins to win, make it more interesting, but it feels like the Jets are going to win this game. I don't have too much of an analysis on it. I just feel like the Jets are going to win. I'm staying away from it. Jets are favored by a point. Dolphins win and the Broncos lose, then the Dolphins get to go in. The Dolphins lose and the Broncos lose, then the Bengals get to go in. Broncos are playing the Chiefs. I think it's an incredibly, way over, um, inflated line here. 10.5 points, 11 some places. I don't see that. I know the Chiefs are playing all their backups. Same thing as the Eagles with their backups. Their defense is just too good. And Denver's going to play tight. Denver put themselves in this position where this just feels like a four-quarter game. Feels like it's going to be tight. I like the Chiefs a lot. It's way too many points for me. Chargers Raiders. That's a game we hope the Chargers can find a way to win this game. I really hope the Chargers win this game. Yeah, I just do. Although if they lose this game to the Raiders, then they have to play us because they lost that game. That can't be a good omen for them. So either way, I think the Ravens are in a good spot. I imagine the Chargers really want to win this game from their perspective. They get to go to Houston instead of going to Baltimore. So look for them to play pretty dominant defense. Raiders looked good last week against the Saints. I don't know if that'll be the vibe this week at home against the Chargers. I'll stay away from it. Not really sure exactly how that one's going to shape out. And because I want the Chargers to win, I don't want to just bet it. So Chargers -7. I would imagine though it's an under situation for the Raiders team total points. Seahawks Rams. Seahawks let me down. I don't know if it's their fault or not. They just couldn't win one more game, and the tiebreakers go the wrong way. So they're playing their guys just to finish out the year the right way. They got the new coach, McDonald, so they'll probably bring back a lot of the guys for next year. And the Rams are going all backups. Still think it's too many points, 7.5. I'll just let it go. But that game and the Niners game, letting it go just because the Niners are going with Josh Dobbs, who was good last year in the beginning. Then you get film on him, not so much. Cardinals are favored by 4.5 points. I don't know how the Cardinals lost last week to the Rams. It's just devastating loss. All those games last week were just ridiculous for me. They're playing Kyler. I imagine he wants to play well, at least for an audition for another team if the Cardinals aren't going to bring him back. So that's why they're favored by 4.5. I just won't bet it because there's no relevance to it. And then the last game tonight, I do like the Lions a lot. I think the 3 points, it went up to 3. I said earlier in the week, I thought it would go higher. I wouldn't be surprised if more money comes in on the Lions. I know that might be just average, regular people looking at it at the end of the night and wanting to take the Lions because it's easier to do that than to take the Vikings. But I think I just like the energy for Detroit. They really want the bye, gives them a chance to heal up even more. The fact that they played last week against the Niners, they played the starters. I think it bodes well for them. I don't know if I would have made that decision. I think it's because it was at San Francisco and they lost to them last year. There was something about going there and winning. So I just like the vibe for the Lions, and they beat the Vikings the first time. They're better than the Vikings. I think in order for the Vikings to win, they would have to force some turnovers. There's a lot more that has to go right for the Vikings to win, whereas the Lions, I don't know if they have to play the A game to win the game. So I know both teams really want to win the game. This is the biggest, I guess discrepancy, or I'm not thinking of the right word, but difference, if you will, for lack of a better word, on playoff route. One gets the 1 seed, one gets the 5 seed. So yeah, just recap it. I'll have all the bets out in a few minutes. As soon as this comes out, all the bets will be out. But yeah, things up in the air are playoff positioning in the NFC, and then whether or not the Broncos can sneak in, and the Bucks making sure they get into the playoffs. Lord help me, instead of the Falcons. So look forward to everything. Maryland plays at 4 o'clock today against Oregon. I'm not going to bet on it because I want to see it. Oregon's coming off. I wish they didn't lose by 30 points at home to Illinois. They did that a couple of days ago. So that makes me a little nervous because I imagine they'll be anxious to get back out there and get that taste out of their mouth. Oregon's a pretty good team. Record-wise, they beat UCLA. They beat Texas A&M. They were very well coached. Maryland, I think it's a great spot for them. A good bounce back. They stayed on the West Coast, so I think that helps them. And then also, the Gillespie and Queen didn't play a lot. So They should be relatively healthy for the game, fully energized. It's just Oregon's to be pissed off. First 5, 6 minutes will be important, but Maryland's got to close these games on the road. It's two losses that they could have won. So I will look forward to that, and I'll be here in the morning to do. Yeah, tomorrow's like the best day because you get to preview all the playoff games. Everything's finalized. Take a deep breath and get ready for the playoffs. So, all right, good luck. Good luck. I'll have bets out here, and see you guys in the morning.